well, you're an employer and got a lot of people. A lot of people in the United States, a lot of people around the world. But let's take the United States. Obamacare says that you as an employer got more than 50 people, got to toe to certain marks in terms of your insurance. What impact does that have on your company?
We are trying to dodge the bullet by moving all our, we pay for all the health care at the moment. And what we're trying to do is move people to HSAs, home savings accounts. And we've got to work with people, and they're sort of, oh gosh, look, gosh, everything gets paid now, and now I go to the system where, there's a co-pay, etc. And so we're educating mostly it's the employees in the US. So we have roughly 600 employees in the US. So it's a chunk, but it's not all of our employees. So the health savings accounts, we're just hoping that Obama and his minions don't sort of undermine health savings
they're after
accounts.
those too,
Oh, they'll be after it.
Yeah.
We know that.
In other words, you're going to drop your employee plan, your health plan?
No, we're still going to cover the employees, but they will have to cover, so anything catastrophic gets completely covered. If somebody has to go into dialysis or needs a cabbage, open heart surgery or whatever. But roughly it's roughly $5,000 for a family, and then after that everything would get covered. Well, without going into the specifics, but that's the plan we have. And now, if there was something where the employees suddenly, short of something catastrophic, but something very expensive happens, we're looking into the tax implications now, but we're going to give them interest-free loans. Okay. And now, is there a tax issue associated with that? We're not sure. We're investigating it.
Yeah.
We think we're okay.
Yeah.
So that way we're kind of protected from the full impact of Obamacare.
So the net, you think...
But it's a shambles, actually. Even Baucus, Senator Baucus, who was one of the guys right behind it, said the other day it's like a train wreck, which is what he said to Sebelius. Yeah. So if it's starting looking like a train wreck now...
To the guy who authored it.
To the guy who authored it. I mean, it's nuts. The whole thing is just a shambles. The private sector should be managing everything. I mean, I'm a private sector guy, but I'm a free enterprise guy. Yeah. That might surprise you.
Well, I'll tell you what, in California, it's increasingly rare. Let me talk about California business right now, the business practices. You're in San Diego, you're headquartered here. There was some famous rumors that you were going to be maybe lured to Austin, Texas, or what have you.
Correct.
What's in your mind about California now? Are we getting better, worse? What's happening?
Oh, California, I mean, I'm not, it's terrible to say it, I'm not sure it's salvageable. I mean, massive, massive debts. Somebody sent me an email yesterday that the total debt, if you put in the defined benefits, which unions, the teachers, all that retirement stuff, the teachers, the prison officers, the nurses, etc. I mean, the whole concept, Jerry Brown, I think it was in 1977 or 78, he brought in the concept of collective bargaining for public sector unions. Not even FDR, who was pretty far left, thought that was a good idea. So he brings that in, and now we're stuck with this monster. It has to be reformed. Everybody should be on 401ks. The guys in the private sector are. If it's good enough for us, it should be good enough for them. I mean, it's defined contributions. Okay, I'm happy with that. Defined benefits, where the hell did that come from? It's nutty. Yeah. And of course, these guys then put in their union stooges into Sacramento, into the assembly, and it's a nice little cozy relationship. You give us more, we'll give you more, and of course, as Maggie Thatcher said, socialism works till you run out of other people's money. And that's going to happen. So we're on a cliff.
Now, you're staying in San Diego, but a lot of your stuff is going elsewhere. You mentioned all your manufacturing went to where?
Well, I'll try to summarize this very quickly. So when Prop 30 got up and Prop 32,
this is cap and trade?
Well, the Prop 32 was the idea that unions shouldn't be able to just... take money out of people's pay packets and then spend it on their political friends. Right. Now, how that went down, I mean, it's so illogical that they ought to be able to do that.
And then 30 raised taxes.
And 30 raised taxes, and it's retroactive. Yeah. Where the hell did that come from? Yeah. A retroactive tax. Like you do stuff under a certain set of rules and principles, and then suddenly they come back and say, oh, you owe us some more money. I just wrote an enormous check to the franchise tax board. And so when Prop 30 got up and Prop 32 went down, and then we had, all the elections here, every race we backed, my buddies and I, we lost every horse went down. And we just sort of said, hey, look, we ought to look at whether or not we ought to stay in the People's Republic of California, frankly. And so we had a committee put together. Our chief legal counsel, Dave Pendarvis, was the chair of it. We had our tax guy, we had our strategy guy, and we had two senior finance people look at the whole terrain. And the funny thing is, it turned out that we would have had to take a charge of roughly $100 million to move, because our building, which we put up here 4 years ago, cost us $120 million. CBRE thought we'd get maybe $60 million for that untenanted. So that's a hit of 60. And then to move people, and people who didn't want to move, severance packages and so forth, and that would have only taken us 50 years to get it back. Right. That was one aspect. And it turned out our tax circumstances in California were nothing like as bad as I thought. And when we looked at it, in fact, it wasn't too bad. But given the regulations and given the difficulty of doing business in California, our expansion here is going to be pretty limited, to be frank. For example, 2/3 of our manufacturing approximately is being done in Singapore. So we've moved a lot of
What's the tax structure in Singapore?
We started off with a 10% corporate tax. We've now negotiated a lower rate than that. We're not in a position to go public with it, but let me say it's...
You're lower than 10.
Well...
The rate here is 35, right?
Right. Well, 40, if you throw in the state tax,
yeah,
or the federal tax, you're looking at probably 41. So where would you go?
Yeah.
Like 5% versus 41. And the interesting thing is our average tax rate is about 21% worldwide. And so we've got about, give or take, $1 billion cash offshore. I mean, people like Microsoft and Apple and so forth.
Have a lot more.
Oh, and Qualcomm.
But you're not bringing it back, huh?
Well, why would you bring it back at 41 cents on the dollar? Are you kidding me? So that money which we could afford to invest in the United States because of the 35 cents in the dollar, which is the highest in the world. Oh, no, that's not true. The United Arab Emirates are about 55%. That's the only one above the United States. So our average is 21, and I think Obama said we're subsidizing other countries. I mean, that's loopy. That's a loopy idea. But anyway, he has lots of loopy ideas. So, but anyway, I mean, it's crazy.
Peter Farrell, thanks for coming by.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure, Roger.